We are currently looking at miles driven per one accident in Tesla vehicles in blue, using autopilot in the dark blue, not using autopilot in the light blue, and the United States average in grey. Tesla's just posted a fresh update with Q1 2024 data. Now, to be clear, this is not FSD. We're talking about autopilot on, autopilot off versus the US average. We'll get to Tesla's rate of progress in a moment, but forget rate of progress. It's quite clear now. Actually, it's been quite clear for years, but whatever. It's quite clear that being in a Tesla vehicle with autopilot engaged will significantly reduce the probability that you will be involved in an accident. I mean, the data doesn't lie. Even without autopilot engaged, it's still much safer than the US average to be in a Tesla vehicle than the average vehicle in the United States. Now, in fairness, obviously, there is going to be a little bit of a bias here toward better maintained, newer and more performative Tesla vehicles versus the US average, with many vehicles on roads being 10, 15, 20 plus years old, not perfectly maintained, they don't have some of the same features, can't brake as quickly and so on. Regardless, it's pretty clear, if safety matters, get you a Tesla and engage autopilot. By the way, in before Tesla starts posting FSD miles per one accident. Can't be too long now. Sawyer Merritt with some great commentary here. Tesla has released new autopilot safety data showing record safety. In Q1 2024, Tesla recorded one crash for every 7.63 million miles driven in which drivers were using autopilot. A new record and a 16% improvement versus the previous all-time best. And in the first quarter of this year, Tesla vehicles not using autopilot. One crash every 955,000 miles versus the most recent available data in the US, which was from 2022, one accident every 670,000 miles. By the way, how many other companies voluntarily publish accident per mile data? Anyone? Is there even one other company? Actual question, by the way. Does anyone know? Please let me know in the comments if true. I'd like to know. I doubt it. Now, it's obviously volatile data. Humans, the world is chaotic. But just note, I'm going to scroll through a few years worth of data. This is the high watermark here. And we're going to look. Just a few years ago, we weren't here, we were here. Clearly, this software is getting significantly safer as measured by the number of accidents. Again, if we scroll through this timeline, very clear, it's getting safer and safer and safer. Remember this guy that I busted a couple of days ago? Why does he keep talking about fucking GM constantly? Why is he saying he's driving a GM piece of shit? Oh, let me check on that. Oh, GM board member. Oh, this guy is back. By the way, if you missed the video, I'm sure I'll explain in a moment if they don't introduce him and mention his conflicts of interest. Just a few days later, old mate is back in the media talking Tesla. Why Tesla is losing share in Europe.
This morning, Tesla's seen a bit of weakness overseas with the worst month for EU sales since January of 23. Pretty different picture in China, though.
Oh, dude, I nearly choked. The micro penis length timeframes here are just so amazing. There's a huge amount of volatility month over month, quarter over quarter, year over year. I mean, we just saw Tesla safety data, right? The trend's obviously clear. It's getting much safer over time, but there's huge ups and downs along the way. And then we hear this bold statement, end of the world type of stuff, doomsday, oh, the worst quarter since just over a year ago. CNBS and the finance media are masters of making mountains out of molehills. But please tell us more.
XPeng driven higher by some strong sales in its latest results. Our next guest does warn that a Chinese monopoly in the EV market could threaten the country's economic security. Joining us here at Post 9 is DVX Venture CEO John McNeil.
Now, before John begins talking, given I recently busted the guy after being super suspicious, or I kept mentioning GM and why the fuck he was driving a GM electric piece of shit, and discovered that in 2022, he was elected to the GM board of directors and seems to have a company that possibly could also have some kind of relationship there. I don't know if he's still on the board. I can't be bothered checking. I just want to ask a question. Will he mention GM in this segment in a clip posted why Tesla is losing share in Europe, and with the subtitle, Tesla Europe sales hit 15-month low. Oh my God, end of the world. Will he utter the words GM or mention any of their vehicle models? The setup for this segment is there's lots of Chinese electric vehicles that are coming. So probably not, but hey, I won't be surprised. And just for the record, as I've personally said in the past, Tesla should not be concerned about compelling, well-priced electric vehicles coming out of China. It's the legacy automotive manufacturers who should be shitting themselves regarding the invasion of compelling, affordable electric vehicles from China. There's Teslas and there's electric vehicles, just like there's iPhones and there's smartphones. That's not changing. The Chinese EVs will be eating the lunch of companies like GM and Ford and Toyota and Volkswagen. Over to you, John.
Also a former president at Tesla and presently a board member at GM and Lulu.
Thank fuck they disclosed that he's currently on the GM board. That's good.
It's great to have you in, John. Thanks for coming. What do we make of the EU registrations? Is it telling us something about the market or the company or share or something else?
I think it may be a picture of what's to come, because in the EU, you've got a lot of competition. And so really the only EV choice for years in the US has been Tesla. And in the EU, you've got a bunch of alternatives now from all the big makers, and they're gaining share against Tesla. So you see Tesla's registrations down, but EV registrations overall up. So Tesla's losing share in that space.
Is the difference the competition from China in the EU?
There is some competition from China and EU. Clearly, BYD is there in a big way, but it's also really strong competition from the European makers and the Scandinavian makers, including Volvo.
You think it's about price?
It is about price at the lower end of the market for sure, because BYD has these lower price offerings that are really popular, especially in Southern Europe, in countries like Spain.
So what happens now, especially in light of a recent quarterly call where...
I just have to take a moment here. Every fucking year, there's always a pie chart showing US EV market share. Now, more often than not, the percentages don't even add up to 100. Let's just double check. Good job. They actually do. That was probably about a 50-50 chance. Now the point, Tesla's still dominating. More than half of all of the vehicles sold in the United States that are electric, made by Tesla. But of course, we know Tesla's dominating and has been dominating and will continue to dominate and has won the decade. Every other company producing vehicles on Earth calls Tesla daddy. But Tesla continues to absolutely dominate and embarrass the competition everywhere on a global basis. Tesla crushing it doesn't really attract as much attention as finding a region and sifting through the last 15 months to find, look, Europe. There's some volatility in the Europe monthly sales. Don't worry, there weren't any fatherless arsonists / fake protesters who forced the Berlin factory to shut down. But they did. Hey, don't mention that though. Says, look, 15-month low in Europe. Oh no, end of the world. Please tell us more. 55.1% US market share. But that's not a very exciting narrative, is it? No. Instead, why Tesla is losing share in pick your region and tiny time frame.
Elon says if you're in the stock for being in the car business, you might want to look elsewhere. He means that.
I think he does. Yeah, he's going all chips in on autonomy, and I think he sees that competitive battle coming, and the battle may not be EVs in the future, maybe shifting to autonomous vehicles or AVs.
Why? What happened to the EV future?
I think the EV future is alive and well. It's a $70 billion business already in the U.S. And when you combine the EV sales, the new car EV sales, with the used car EV sales in the first quarter, remember, Hertz unloaded tens of thousands of EVs on the market. Used EV sales shot up 45% as a result. And so when you add new and used, you've got significant EV demand.
Yeah, just to be clear, EVs are happening. It's just that the autonomous opportunity in terms of the numbers, the dollars, the profits, dwarfs the entire automotive business. Now, on screen now, I just wanted to emphasize, we looked earlier about the safety data on Tesla, right? There's volatility, but an obvious trend. Here we are with the quarterly sales for Tesla by region. The trend, up. However, it's volatile and bumpy. If you sit here with a magnifying glass like CNBS, you can find any narrative you want. Q4 2021 to Q1 2022, numbers down, therefore, end of the world. A collapse. It's over. Then a big surge. Same thing happens at Q4 2022 to Q1 2023. Oh no, another collapse. It's the end of the world. Again, I guess fucking what? It happened again. Q4 23 to Q1 24. It's almost as if there's seasonality to the automotive market. And every fucking time, every year, without fail, we hear the same narrative. Someone's got a magnifying glass, they're looking at Q4 to Q1, and suddenly the narrative is sales collapsing, deliveries down, oh my God, end of the world. And then the trend continues and they forget they ever said that. Just remember, folks, the only metric that matters are vehicles sold globally. Is that number trending up over time? Yes, then everything's fine. No, you have a problem.
That'll shift. It'll rotate back to new EV demand as that one-time event with Hertz.
You think so? Because there are questions about whether
there are questions, but when you look, like EV demand was up again in April, and that doesn't include the used cars. So once the used cars sort of dry up, that demand will rotate back to new.
Can we ever do EVs like they do in China at the same price point and the same quality?
It's really difficult because there's about $28 billion of subsidies into the EV market in China by the government. So free factories, interest-free loans, and very low-cost labor. And so it gets very difficult to compete at that price level or that cost level from the U.S., which is why it's really important, a lot of people believe, to protect the U.S. manufacturers from that.
There have been a lot of, Goldman did a report, I think, just a couple days ago looking at purchase intentions among EV buyers, and Tesla is lower than rivals. Why do you think? Is that about price as well, or do you think there's something cultural going on with the brand?
There's clearly a lot going on with the brand. About 80% of Tesla sales over the last few years came from very blue zip codes. And so there's a rotation coming out of that demand, I think, to other makers. So it is, I think there's a lot of a brand story there. It's somewhat of a price story, but a lot of a brand story.
Can you talk about what optionality exists now at GM regarding the...
So, I mean, pretty impressive of Carl to actually be able to speak pretty clearly with GM's eggplant buried in the back of his throat there. Has this just transitioned into a paid promotion? By the way, nothing wrong with a paid promotion, but... Well, please tell us about some of the products the company whose board you sit on currently offers in this market. Since you didn't do it unprompted, let us just prompt you. That's why you're here, after all. Please tell us about the incredible products that you have, specifically as opposed to what's going on with Tesla, Europe, Chinese EV makers. Please tell us about some of these wonderful GM products that our viewers should definitely consider. By the way, in totally unrelated matters, are you guys still spending a few $100 million advertising on TV this financial year? You are? Okay, good. All right, cool. Just checking. Otherwise, we'll cut that bit. But you are? You're spending the money? Great. Well, please tell us about your GM products, please. Some of them. Thanks. Carl at CNBS knows who butters his bread. Automotive manufacturers spend big money advertising on their network, which obviously would not affect their editorial judgment or create any biases at all.
The ICE business or the EV business?
So it's nice at GM to have both options. Have the ICE business funding the transition to EV. And on the EV side, they've got EVs in the $20,000 to $30,000 range, $30,000 to $40,000 range that are just coming to market literally this month. And so now we're going to see a real alternative where after tax incentive, you've got a $29,500 Equinox. It's a really nice car. And a lot of us have been driving it and have fallen in love with it. It's 300.
And I'm sure that consumers will totally agree, and the sales will be stellar, just like all of GM's previous electric vehicles, which are breaking every record ever for low sales volumes. By the way, note, John was explaining how it's good that GM's internal combustion engine vehicle business, the profits from that, can fund their transition to EVs. Just one problem. Profits on that internal combustion engine vehicle business are about to collapse with volumes on that internal combustion engine vehicle, meaning the profits are going to collapse, become neutral, go negative, and then what? How do you fund your electric vehicle business, which is losing fuck tons of money when your ICE vehicle business starts losing a little bit, then a lot, then fuck tons? The answer is they're fucked. That's the actual truth.
10 miles of range for that price.
And do you think, last question on the charging network in general, does Tesla's de-emphasis of that business mean that there's more going to be range anxiety as a result?
That was a real head scratcher of letting that whole team go on a critical piece of Tesla's strategy.
Right.
But the U.S. and foreign manufacturers have come together to form their own supercharging network called Iona, and they're now rolling out superchargers. So I think you see a shift.
Yes. I'm sure that clusterfuck is going to produce the world's most comprehensive and reliable charging network.
Now the responsibility from Tesla building that network to now all car companies building that network. But we've got to get ahead, or at least catch up to demand, so that we can offer that that charging everywhere.
Does the industry expect any changes if we do get a change in the administration after the elections or a change in Congress, given the IRA, given the emphasis from the Biden administration on EVs?
There's a lot of, I think, of thought about that and really close watching what's going to happen with the control of Congress and where that may go. I mean, we have, through the IRA, really had a significant movement of bringing the supply chain for EVs over to the U.S. in a way that we weren't able to do as just Tesla alone. And so that is going to have significant impacts on the industry.
So if the IRA gets reversed or walked back at all, does it change GM's strategy?
I think we risk losing the auto manufacturing share to China. We really do globally. And so it's a bipartisan discussion that ought to be had for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot riding on the auto cycle at the moment.
Yeah.
I was about to wrap up and I saw this chart from Mars. Another way of visualizing Tesla's safety data over time with trend lines to make things a little clearer. US average in red. Technically getting slightly safer, but only just, although it could be possible that Tesla themselves are almost single-handedly lifting the entire US average. Tesla vehicles without autopilot trending slightly lower over time. Some speculation on that in a moment. And Tesla vehicles with autopilot engaged. Massive positive trend. Getting safer and safer and safer. One accident now, roughly every 6.5 million miles. Nearly twice as many miles per accident versus the first data reported, Q3 2018. Now, it may be a little dangerous to read into the tea leaves here, but it's interesting to see the slight trend down in terms of accidents per mile without autopilot. This isn't statistically significant yet, but here's a thought, and I'll probably get cancelled for saying this, but I'm going to say this. Is it possible, stick with me folks, that as Tesla vehicles have become more affordable, more mainstream, and more people, a broader selection of society can afford to be driving a Tesla, whereas previously, let's just be honest, you needed to be relatively well off financially, and most of the time when somebody ends up well off financially, it's not an accident, no pun intended. Is it possible the quality of driver in terms of their cautiousness, their ability to gauge and measure risk as Tesla vehicles have become more ubiquitous, more mainstream? The quality in terms of the safety profile of a Tesla driver themselves has slightly decreased. Something to ponder. Speculation aside, the real point is the massive improvement in Tesla's autopilot safety over time. The trend is clear. Just run that line forward. But in totally unrelated matters, robotaxis will never happen. Plus, even if they do, everyone's going to catch up to Tesla at the exact same time anyway. So it's not a big deal. Want more content? Early access? Bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 is awesome. I've been taking it daily now for more than 3 years. It's a great way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's packed full of vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients. Plus, has prebiotics, probiotics, and adaptogens to improve gut health, regularity, and help your body handle stress. I'm always looking for an edge to help me feel and perform my best, which is why I haven't missed a day of AG1 for more than 3 years. And I haven't missed a daily video in more than 3 years. Must be a coincidence, right? Just try it and see how you feel. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs. But don't take my word for it. This is what viewers of the channel had to say after trying AG1. I feel like I have a lot more energy since I started on AG1. By the way, viewer, that makes 2 of us. On to the next. Just got my AG1 in the mail. Legit feeling the effects after day 3. This viewer's been taking AG1 for 8 months and says, what an investment. Another. 3 months ago, I started AG1 and have been enjoying the evenness of alertness and energy that lasts the day. I just started the wife on it too. Are you convinced yet? I mean, hey, it's worth trying, right? Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR or I can keep going. Plenty more to come. This viewer, after about a month on AG1, definitely a lack of fatigue in the afternoon. Pleasant side effect is that my coffee intake has imploded and is almost down to 0. One more? Yeah, why not? I honestly feel younger and will be continuing to use AG1. This stuff really is crazy good. I didn't think it would be, but this stuff is awesome. It really is what everyone is saying. One more? Don't mind if I do. I've just received my 3rd month supply. I've drank it every day. I have so much energy throughout most of the day. I'm productive, started a new business, started socializing, refurbished a boat. It's no coincidence. Thank you for your persistence, your integrity, and your insights. Now look, these are not my words. These are not my testimonials. This is what you guys and girls are saying. Maybe it's 100% placebo effect. But even if that's the case, I think it's money well spent. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs. If you're still skeptical, hey, I don't blame you. Everyone on the planet seems to be promoting AG1 now, but guess what? They weren't nearly 3 years ago when I had this to say privately to my Patreon audience before there was a relationship, when I was asked about what I was doing for my health, energy, and so on. Just sharing my genuine, honest thoughts about a product I'd recently discovered that was at the time called Athletic Greens, now AG1. If I could only recommend one supplement to take, Athletic Greens, and I'm not getting paid to say this, Athletic Greens is a fucking game changer. I cannot believe how effective this is. No longer having a lack of energy in the afternoons. It's fucking amazing. There's only one thing to recommend seriously. Try Athletic Greens. You won't go back. So obviously, just like Elon Musk is a liar, a fraud, a con man, a scammer, a fake engineer, and Tesla's going bankrupt, you shouldn't trust that guy from about 3 years ago who without any financial incentive, was promoting this product to his audience on Patreon when they were asking about health and what he's doing for supplements. Because obviously there was some other reason he recommended that, obviously. Not sure what it was, but don't trust that guy. And all the testimonials, like my mental game has improved with AG1. I feel better than ever. I'm so impressed I've bought it for both my parents. I feel more focused and have better digestion. Incredible difference. No more afternoon fatigue. It's relieved gut issues. These are all just obviously fake testimonials from fake people. Right? Wrong. Just try it. Unless you hate yourself. If you hate yourself and you don't even want to risk possibly feeling better, this is not for you. But for everyone else, what's the worst that could happen? Try it for a month. See how you feel. It's a no-brainer. Just click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR. You'll get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 and K2 plus 5 travel packs. And you'll take the colossal risk that maybe you might have a similar experience to some of the people whose testimonials we've read in this video.